All right, so today is March 17, and it is 17 days out of 21 days. We're almost there out the fasting. I'm so excited for this journey. Um, Today numbers is 20 everything. I have to try to get everything in a measure of time. Got to go to work tonight, so I was planning to do 30, but I don't think I'll be able to make 30. So we're going to do 20 everything, make sure the form is there, and I'll continue this process, this workout process. So let's get started.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, I already did a video on this particular book, but it's worth for me to do it again because the magnitude of information contained within the book. And I'll speak from personal experience when I say that I first came across this book in 2004 or 5 or something like that. And when I read this book, I realized that there was so many things that I didn't understand about how reality works. And then I went to go and implement it, and it was this one book that got me out of $50,000 debt when I was in corporate at the time. I incurred a large amount of debt, and it was this book, following the principles within this book, that allowed me to get out of debt in a relatively short amount of time. It was also the principles in this book that allowed me to attract the exact house that I was looking for, the very first house that I bought. It was also the principles that were contained within the book that while I was living in that house, after reading it again, that inspired me to leave the corporate job and start a business, IT business. And then throughout my entrepreneurial career, you could say full-time since 2009, I've been constantly revisiting this book over and over again to read it from cover to cover, only to have it reveal to me pieces that I didn't recognize, value, or understand the first time, or even the first 4 or 5 times that I read it, actually all the times that I read it, and took action on it. That being said, there's a lot of interesting thoughts that flowed through my mind when I came to this realization. I said, what if I read it again? So I actually sat down yesterday and read it cover to cover. And what was interesting was the information, again, seemed like it was new information. Now, granted, there were stories and examples and elements that I know I was reading the same book, but what stood out for me, the insights, the perspectives, the level of understanding that came from reading it again, prompted me to reevaluate some of the things I was doing, to magnify some of the things that I'm doing right now that are working, to eliminate some of the things that I was doing but for some reason ended up doing again and creating bad habits, etc. And the list goes on and on and on. So that's why I believe that making a video on this book again is not only going to give you fresh insights and perspectives from my last video, but also further and deeper your understanding and hopefully inspire you to go and read this book multiple times over and over again in your evolution, in your journey in life. Contained with it are the principles of success. And as simple and pragmatic as some of these might sound, the truth and the realization is that we can always do more, better. We can always improve our ability to implement these principles. And we can literally keep ourselves busy for the rest of our lives, learning, growing, and implementing these principles as we get more and more success. And oftentimes you'll find that this might only be the one book that a person needs to read as far as personal development and success goes. I know I'm a fan of reading other books and so forth, but this is the original and classic, not as far as origins of the information contained within it, because there were many books and documents and texts, spiritual texts and so forth, that were written hundreds of years prior to Think and Grow Rich, that Think and Grow Rich was based on. And when you realize that, you recognize that the information is actually based on core principles that are life principles, not just success principles. So what I've done is I've gone through all the chapters here, and I've pulled out some quotes, and we're going to get into discussion. This is probably going to be a very lengthy video, and I'm excited to do it because it's going to do a handful of things. Number one, it's going to reveal to you the specific elements that were covered in the book that you might have missed the first few times you read it. It might validate some of the things you already knew. It might shift your perspective a little bit on looking at some of the passages differently at a higher yield and output than you currently look at. And for me, it's going to give me the benefit for reprogramming my subconscious mind and further emphasizing and developing myself to integrate the principles to a higher degree, because no matter what level you're at, you can always integrate them further. And I'm able to create an audio here that I can personally listen to over and over again. I recommend you do so to keep yourself in a certain state of mind, a certain vibration. That's what Napoleon Hill calls it, the vibration. And this certain vibration is success consciousness, a certain level of consciousness that allows you to see opportunities that you might not have seen before. It's consciousness required to really grasp and understand the last video that I did, which was Opportunity by Eben Pagan. If you haven't seen that, I recommend you watch it. I'll put a link in the description. You'll notice that information looks differently when you see reality from a certain vibration or a certain state of mind. Success consciousness. The difference is that when somebody sees the world as success consciousness, or looking at the world from success consciousness, they start to see opportunities everywhere. And arguably, those opportunities were always in front of their face. It's just that they couldn't see it. They had to change their state of mind. They had to go into what Napoleon Hill calls a higher state of vibration to be able to see that. Now, that might sound very esoteric, so if you want to bring it down to what is common knowledge, then we know this, that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And even if that sounds so esoteric, understand the truth in this. There's been a lot of situations in life where people looked at those particular situations as a disadvantage or a roadblock, only to have other people come along and look at that same situation as an advantage or an opportunity. There are people that were born with not having a lot of wealth and so forth, in fact, a lot of poverty, and used that to build a burning desire, again, referred to in the book, and we'll talk about that, to acquire riches, to create success in their life. And if they never were born in those kind of circumstances, if they weren't surrounded in that environment, they might not necessarily have had the drive and the motivation and the discipline required to implement these principles. So truth be told, when you look at reality a certain way, reality presents to you information, opportunities, and even attracts certain people to you. If you are a person that is pleasing and you've got a good personality and you don't have a front up, you're authentic, you're energetic, you're enthusiastic, you're passionate, and you're on purpose, more and more people will be attracted to you because they want to be around that energy. And those people are usually those that form what he calls the master mind, in which you take one mind of a person and another mind of a person, and it creates the third mind. And from this, you can collaborate and connect and create results in the world, success, value for others, in which you'll get paid for, in which you can make yourself very wealthy. All of these are a net result of situations and facts of reality that are accomplished when you integrate these principles. So let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1, the introduction. Truly, thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when they are mixed with definiteness of purpose, persistence, and a burning desire for their translation into riches or other material objects. Thoughts are things. Okay, thoughts are things. And you can go really deep into this, and you can discover that thoughts cause certain things to happen. Okay, triggers people into action, creates things in reality, and it starts from a thought. That being said, this book is called Think and Grow Rich. And if you understand that you've got how many thoughts floating through your mind every single day from morning till night, arguably millions of thoughts, millions of permutations of thoughts, we've got to recognize that these thoughts drive our actions. It drives how our body functions. It drives how we see reality, how we look at things. And based on all that and a bunch of more dynamics, they create effect through the actions that are taken. And sometimes even through the inaction. There's a saying, wei wu wei, action through inaction. Sometimes a thought, be it a negative thought, causes you to take an action that self-sabotages and brings you back as far as progress goes, hinders your progress or sets you back.
That was amazing. That was great. I really didn't expect to be going back to back hard on the reps. Normally, I try to take some breaks to do a set. Another great walking jog, 1.5 miles. Still consistent on that. As you can see, the same exercise, 21-day fasting, is going to be some kind of results. Now, for women and men, if you want to try this exercise, do it all. Do it with a break, of course. If this seems a little bit too intense, I will recommend you guys to do like some kind of jump rope, some kind of push-ups somewhere, or don't do, if I say let's do 20, do like 5. Still stay at the 5, less than 10 reps of the exercise. You don't have to do the whole max. The main goal here is to feel a burn, some kind of pain. Not to pull your muscle, and not to go to the extreme that you can't even work out tomorrow. So, with that being said, I think I mentioned on the previous video about habits. Today was a 180. I felt more energized, less sluggish on what needs to get done, and I had more of a stronger rhythm this go around tonight. So I'm gonna still piggyback off of that, the habits. You know, what habits are we creating to elevate, to increase our stamina, which is very important. So with that being said, enjoy your night, continue to stay strong, continue to build your wisdom, and health is important. So you guys take care, okay?